Are you ready?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are a continuation of our conversation on the refugee issue, the project that we have titled We Refugee. Just now, I'm connected with somebody that I've been working on the project for a long time, a fellow Nigerian in Sweden that I've been working under the United Nations. They had a project that is called Telling the Real Story, which is, of course, me telling the story of the refugee, the Africans in Italy, sorry, the Africans in Europe. And like you all know, the project that we are working on, the journey, is about the Africans in Italy, in Europe, in their experiences, what is basically their experience in these past years. So today, I have the honor of talking with Shenny Plougmann. She's going to be explaining to us what has been her experience in the journey so far, what she has done, and what maybe we can learn from in this project of human migration. Of course, the human migration that is also the human cost in it, because we all know that. All right, Shenny, I want to thank you for joining us. Why don't we start by you presenting yourself to the people
Thank
who
you
do not
very
know you?
much
Yeah, please
for
go.
having me, Peter. So, my name is Shenny Plougmann. As you know, I work at the UNHCR under the project called Telling the Real Story. It is a project that deals with irregular movement. So, we basically work with sharing information, creating awareness on irregular movement, but also sharing information on alternative pathways as well, so legal pathways to prevent the issues arising from traveling through the irregular route, Libya and the Mediterranean Sea.
All right, thank you very much for that, Shenny. Now, I'm trying to understand, since when have you been collaborating with this project?
So I've been working with the UNHCR since 2019 February. So it's been a little over a year, 2 years now, actually. And I started directly on the project, telling the real story.
Okay, now talking of the experience, because for over 2 years, of course, you have done quite a lot of things. Of course, I know I collaborated with you guys when you came to Verona. We organized the conference that was about the sensitization on a community base, as it were. Then, so I try to understand what has been your experience personally in collaborating with this project on refugee.
I mean, it's been a great experience for me, especially because personally, it's given me an opportunity to add value and do something that actually creates value. But also, as you know, the situation with irregular movement is one that is very disheartening. I mean, people travel. For safety, for better living, and been told several stories on how they can reach Europe, and people risk their lives and lose their lives. And that is a very unfortunate situation. So, for me, being able to work on a project where awareness is central and raising awareness is key, but also sharing information on how to migrate in other ways that are safe is something that I found valuable for me. So yes, it's been a great experience so far, and I'm truly thankful that I'm able to be in a project that makes such impact for people.
All right. Now, how did you get into the project to start with? Probably you were called upon to participate in a project like this, which of course have a lot of value looking at the situation of immigrants in Europe or people that are coming live in Africa. So how did you get started with the project?
Prior to working with the project, I was working in Copenhagen at the UN city, the UN headquarters. I was working at the UNDP, and at the time my contract ended, and I was looking for other positions. And a friend of mine, actually a previous colleague at the UN city, had sent the ad to me saying that this matches my resume, and as such, I applied. What stood out to me was basically the content of the project, basically working with refugees, but I mean, in the area of trying to prevent the menace of human trafficking. And I mean, being Nigerian myself, human trafficking is an issue and is something that is still undergoing. And a lot of people have lost their lives, lost their families. And so this has always been something that has been of great concern for me. So having the opportunity to work on a project that I could actually be a catalyst to creating change was something that just was, the next logical step for me. So I did apply for the positions, and luckily here I am today.
Thank you for that, Shenny. Now, like you correctly said, this is a project of human migration, which have some cost to it. Now, I'm trying to look at the human cost in it because, at least from our own side of the project, we'll be talking with different Africans, different young people who have across the Sahara Desert, through Libya, and then to Europe. And the story sometimes is really quite pathetic, as it were. So I'm trying to see if there is a way you can talk a little bit about the human cost in this journey.
Um, can you explain a little bit the question further in terms of the human cost? Do you mean what people go through?
Actually, yeah. What people go through in terms of because okay, as people, as Africans, we see our fellow Africans dying on the road, go get to Europe. So in this area, in this situation where we lose human beings because they are trying to get to Europe, I don't know if you want to say anything about that because I understand that you'll be talking also to other persons with a lot of people that are here in Europe who have maybe passed through that same journey. So that is where I would like you to spend some few minutes.
I mean, working on the project I've met a lot of refugees and I've met a lot of people who have been through the journey and I've heard their stories. And I mean, I remember when I first joined the project and I heard these stories. I mean, I've always known the stories, but I mean, talking to a person who has gone through the journey and actually hearing what they've been through, it's quite difficult. I mean, also you get to hear the experiences of others who actually are not there to tell you their experiences. So people who have gone through the journey and have died. I'm hoping to reach Europe, and I mean it's very difficult for me, especially being a woman. I mean, listening to other women because for the Nigerian segment of the project, we worked a lot with women. And I've spoken to a lot of women, and being a woman myself, listening to what women actually go through in Libya and just trying to cross the Mediterranean Sea is wow, quite difficult to take in. I remember my first experience with speaking to women was in Germany when we traveled in 2019. I just joined the project, was just a week into it. And we went and spoke to some women in Germany, and I just could not. I mean, I just started crying in the middle of the interview. It was very difficult for me. So, I mean, women go through a lot of things. They get, sexually abused, and men also go through a lot of things. People get sold from one person to another into prostitution. I mean, do unthinkable things. I mean, it's just, I mean, if you would like to hear these stories, you can go on our website, www.tellingtherealstory.org, and you can find a lot of these stories there. These are very, very difficult stories to take in. And I mean, the cost is, I personally don't think, I mean, I understand why people take the journey of,
Hello there.
hello,
Yeah.
are you
Okay.
still
Please
there?
go.
Sorry. But in terms of, apologies, a call came through my phone. But in terms of what is at risk, it is not a good payoff because a lot of people who make the journey are there to tell the stories, but there's a lot of people who don't make it, that are not there to tell their stories. And there can also be a misconception from when people watch the stories, they think, oh, this person made it, that person made it. But these are the few people that have made it, that we've had the opportunity to. A lot of people that didn't make it, and it's very disheartening to see what goes on, to listen to these women and just to hear their experiences. This is why the project focuses now specifically on sharing a lot of information and in regular pathways, opportunities for people to travel in a safe manner to Europe rather than going through Libya. And of course, a lot of women also go through this journey because they have been misinformed. So the right information is key. So in connection with sharing alternative pathways, we're also sharing information on what it is exactly like to go on that journey so that people know what it is before they make that decision, as opposed to being deceived by somebody who has an ulterior motive of, selling them off or selling them into prostitution.
Thank you very much for that clarification, Shenny. You see, at this moment, in this project, in this session that we are in it, we're trying to look at the legal issue in it. currently I'm interviewing a lot of Italian lawyers. I also intend to interview the judges that are responsible in the cases, because at the end of the day, somebody needs to decide whether an asylum is going to be granted or not. So on the basis of what is this asylum granted? Of course, we have also talked a lot with the different refugee centers here in Italy, and to try and understand how the story really is evolving from the first commission to the last. Anyway, I don't know if that is the last commission, but at the end, that is a point that it just cannot go on. And also the people themselves, these people that are coming in. So it's a whole lot of things together that we are trying to understand from this point. My point now is that when you look at these people that are coming in from Africa, say from Nigeria, because that might be the main focus just now, because I'm from Nigeria, you're also from Nigeria. So this is the story that we know better. No, it's not that other stories are not important, but this is the one we just know better. Have you had the time to maybe like travel to Nigeria, to the grassroots, to know what really is motivating these people to be involved in this journey, and to understand their personal motivation? Yeah, that's what I'm trying to drive at there.
I am Nigerian myself, so I am quite aware of the situation back home in Nigeria. And I mean, before joining the project, I have been actually a part of a very small local campaign where we reached out to women, sharing awareness on human trafficking. But also from speaking to people and speaking to these women, and also members of the diaspora in Europe, I mean, also from my personal experience, what we know is that, I mean, people are trying to escape poverty, trying to get a better living. As I mean, there's a lot of people who live in conditions that are less than favorable. Also, there is the issue of peer pressure. For some people, they are uh, being told that if they go to Europe, they can make it better. They see their friends travel to Europe, and they see their friends come back and do things for their family. And like I said, these are the few people that have actually made it, that are coming back to do things for their family. So when they come back and do things for their family, from having actually gone through a lot and having actually sold themselves, and in ways that they don't want to, um and of course these people don't tell the real stories of what they've gone through, because it can be something that would result into a shameful situation. So they don't tell the full stories themselves, and they cannot, because uh they're obliged not to, by taking going into an oath with their madams, and as such, so the real information is not being shared, and so the peer pressure is there. The situation regarding the economic situation is there. There's also liabilities, and I mean, one can understand why these women take this journey. A lot of women also take this journey so that they can better the situation of their family. They and as such, when they see other women going and coming back and actually doing that, they tend to want to try the same for themselves. So there is the issue of deception from the diaspora, the madams, also the diaspora posting pictures online, looking all rosy, and I'm not really sharing the true reality behind actually living in Europe, where you actually do have to work. You actually do have to go to work. I mean, if you live in a country like Sweden, I live in Sweden, you have to learn the language. That takes time, and then you have to get a job, and then you pay tax, and it's not easy. You don't just come here and make it. But these are the things that are not being told to people. What you see is pictures online, so that leads to peer pressure. And then, family members not knowing the full stories encourage their kids to take the journey. And in some cases, the kids want to. So the parents sponsor their journey. And also the situation, like I mentioned, with lack of job opportunities, and also other pressing issues, as we've heard, where people have been having issues back home, and they try to escape a life-threatening situation. So, I mean, for each segment of the project, there are different motivations. But for the Nigerian segment, these are some of the things that can motivate people to want to take the journey.
Thank you so much for that. Now, there is something I really want to take out from your explanation, which had to do with the, I want to call it a disinformation, in that we that are here in the diaspora, we do have a responsibility towards people that are home. In that the kind of story that we tell, there are implications to it. That if we, like you correctly point out, no, if we tell false story, if we tell story that are not corresponding to the reality, I think it can sort of have consequences. So I don't know if you want to say something relating to that, because of course I'm looking at our responsibility now. Me, you, all the people of Nigerian origin that are here in Europe or in overseas who are in relation, who are sort of talking to their people at home, because if we don't tell them the truth, we risk putting their life in danger. I'm not saying that everything is rosy in Nigeria, but we need to be honest with what is really going on here. So say something about that, please.
As you've rightly mentioned, it is true that honesty is very important. We are a part of the problem if we don't tell the full story of what it is like to actually live in Europe. If we go online and only talk about, how great it is to be here, and and post photos standing behind. But I mean, as examples that has been given in our meetings with the diaspora, standing beside cars that are not yours and posing, to show that life is good in Europe. We risk that other people take that as, oh yeah, you can go to Europe and you can just, make it. I mean, look at my friend. I mean, it's just, I mean, we went to the same school, so he's not special. And now he's in Europe, he's making it. So if he can do that, then I can do that. I mean, all that it took him, and what he said was that he just went through Libya, and then in a week, 2 weeks, it was there. And, I have this madam that, that's giving me the same offer. And I want to be like my friend, so I'll take the journey. But of course, also other people who have actually gone to Europe in through a legal pathway, through education, also post photos. And it's sort of like, but it's also like when people go home, in December's as well. It looks glamorous, it looks rosy. But of course, I mean, if you work in Europe, even if you work legally in Europe, you sort of do make some amount of money that when you go home is quite big. So you can afford to do some things that you couldn't do when you were back home. And the message that this sends across sometimes when we don't tell the full story is that, all you got to do is get to Europe and then you've made it. And then life is good. And if I think that all I got to do is get to Europe to make it, then I would just, then people try to pay the price. They think the price is that I go through Libya and maybe a few ASU here and there, and then I make it. Because the madams don't tell the true story. And this, coupled with the fact that the diaspora posts photos of the rosy life in Europe, makes it all, you know, makes it all hard, and creates the whole misinformation that all you have to do is get to Europe and then you will make it. But the true story, as you and I know, is that when you get to Europe, if you come to a country like, Italy, for example, you learn Italian. I mean, to get a job without speaking the language can be a little bit daunting. Then you also have to search for a job. You have to compete with other people who speak Italian. It takes time to learn the language. And if you're going to get a job where you don't speak the language, it reduces your chances, because now you're trying to get a job in a small set in a there are a lot of jobs. And then if you don't speak the language, you have to apply for jobs where you speak English only, and that reduces your chances of getting a job that might take time. And then you have to survive, and you have to pay for rent. It's not cheap. And over here in Europe, we both know that you don't just go live with an aunt. I mean, you could do that, but you pay rent when you live with an aunt. The rent is expensive. Everybody's trying to make it. So it's not like in Nigeria. These are things that should be put into consideration. And in some cases, I think that in some cases, and this cannot be generalized, but in some cases, I think that the misinformation puts other people who actually could have done better in Nigeria into a situation where they go on the journey. So they raise a lot of money and go on the journey. The money that has been raised can be something that could be used to start up a business in Nigeria. But of course, like I said, the misinformation makes them think I could just, you know, make this money. I mean, if I have a million naira, I can make it into 10 million by going to Europe. Or if I have 100,000 naira, I can make it into a million by going to Europe. I can double my income So why do I want to start a business in Nigeria when my friend is over there, just making money, no capital? If I have capital, then I can even make it better in Europe. So I mean, these are just some of the examples of how, it can be misleading, and there's a lot of factors involved. These are just some of the factors. There's a lot of factors involved, but one thing that we can do as diasporas, as Nigerians in Europe, is to try to, you know, share the true story. I mean, we can join forces with, projects like Telling the Real Story, by sharing testimonies of women online, and just creating awareness with our own platform. So just as we post photos, I mean, for having it good, we post photos, but we also have to share that it's just not, you come to Europe and then you're done, you've made it.
All right, that's great. Telling the real story. I see that the second part of it is danger of irregular migration from Africa to Europe. Of course, by this, I want to believe that you are not like trying to discourage migration. That one, nobody can do that because immigration is not under the control of any particular government or any system. It's something that the human being just do, and we all should, of course, have the right to migrate when we want to migrate. But the question is that we shouldn't migrate the way that we are migrating because we are risky too much. We are the the end doesn't justify the means. And that is the point. Because if maybe you take a lot of risk, then you get to Europe, then everything become as it is imagined, then okay, you can take certain risk because in life we need to take risk too. But what we have come to understand is that the risk is really not worth it. It's not worth it that much. There is nothing that is as that can be equal to losing your life. So the question I want to ask you, Shenny, is if we are trying to discourage irregular migration, what should be the right way to migrate?
Thank you very much for the question. I mean, this is why the project focuses on sharing information and on regular pathways. I mean, there are many ways that, I mean, another thing is that, not quite surprisingly, is that a lot of people actually don't know, that not a lot of people, but a lot of people that I've actually, we have spoken to say that they didn't know about the other pathways. They just know about the route through Libya. So sharing information on other pathways is very important, and one of those pathways is through education. Applying for education in Europe, getting scholarship, through work as well. Um, I mean, there are a lot of opportunities as well being shared by other organizations online, and also by telling the real story for people to apply for education. So another thing is that, when in Nigeria, if you have a skill and you are able to come over to Europe and work with that skill, that is a regular pathway. And that's something that, can be done without going through Libya. You can apply for a job in Europe, and when you get it, then in that case, you can apply for a visa, and then you come with a plane. And that way you get a working permit, you can make money, and that way, you don't have to risk your life. So those are some of the ways that people can come to Europe regularly.
All right, thank you for that. I understand also that even though that might be like a kind of a clean way to migrate, it's not as easy as it might be. But okay, I also understand that you don't have so much time today, so we might not be
But
able
if I
to.
may
Yeah, yeah,
add,
please go. Yeah.
if I may add to it, I also do understand that there are some people in situations where, they don't even know how to apply for education in Europe, or they perhaps don't have the primary education to to then apply for a university education in Europe, or there are people who actually don't have the skill that is needed. Which is why it is very, very important that if you want to come to Europe, that you can make that a goal, but then try to put yourself in a situation where over time you can. So it's not, you don't have to come to Europe today because you want to come to Europe today. You can work towards coming to Europe by educating yourself, by taking some skill. And there are several organizations that offer some. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of small organizations in Nigeria. I mean, I know that IOM offers a lot of training for returnees, and other organizations that are collaborating with IOM. They offer a lot of training. So if you stay in Nigeria and work on educating yourself and work on building that capacity, you can get to a point where then you can apply to come to Europe. So it should be seen as a journey where you begin to work towards it. So there are ways to come to Europe, and for some people it might just be you can apply right away and come to Europe. But some people it might just be something that you need to take step by step. So if you want to study in Europe, you might just want to, so you want to take a university. So make sure you get your secondary school education and then apply, but also educate yourself. There are many resources online on how to educate yourself. And we also share a lot of this information. Educate yourself on ways to apply for a visa. And the worst that can happen is that you're rejected and you're told why you're rejected. And when you're told why you're rejected, you can work on this and then reapply in the future. So these are some of the pointers, but for the sake of time, I mean, we can talk about this more in more detail in the future. But like I said, it's very important to follow a process. Everything in life is a process, and when people travel regularly, they try to jump over the process, and that's when we face situations where we lose lives. But following the process for those that can, it is very important. And for the people who travel for a better life but can't stay in Nigeria for a while to work on building their capacity, it is important to do that. I mean, it's not everybody. I mean, like I said, this is not to generalize, but I'm just saying in some circumstances we can actually wait with the goal of migrating to Europe. And that way we do it regularly, and we will be happy with the outcome eventually.
All right. Yeah, yeah. There are ways to do it. And like you correctly said, we will have time to be able to explore some of this area at some other time, so that at least it can become clearer to some people who want to go through the right way. Even though that can actually need a lot of explanation to help somebody understand it, because it's not as if it's as simple as it might sound. But of course, that will need explanations for some other occasion. Now, I want to ask you a kind of a personal story, Shenny. You've been working on this project now for 2 years, you said, no? From a personal point of view, from a personal level, what has been your most satisfying moment in this project?
I would say that but every aspect of working in the project has been very satisfying for me. Just that in general, that I can help share information on regular pathways, that I can also be a catalyst to creating awareness on human trafficking in Nigeria. Has been very satisfying for me. But also, more importantly, when we speak to people, and I mean, I remember in Italy we had one of the one of our diaspora meetings that we had, and we spoke to some women who have also gone through the journey, and some of them said that they actually, if they had seen these stories that they are watching, that we made them watch, they wouldn't have taken the journey. So knowing that I'm working with a project that actually helps reveal the stories is very satisfying for me, that people are actually finding it impactful, and that people are coming with feedback saying that we want to use this video to educate women, we want to use this video to empower women. And I find that highly satisfying. And I mean, just generally the the opportunity to be able to create value and to add value is something that I really really am grateful for.
All right. Now, for the sake of time, there are some of the things that we cannot discuss today. For the sake of time, of course, like I said, we are going to have time to relook into them again. Now, the last part of the question today, actually, this is not a question, this is a concluding part of it. What would be your final message? Because maybe that is something you wanted to say, I didn't ask, or maybe you just want to end this interview with a message towards the people. So I don't know, maybe towards the refugee or whatever you want to conclude it with. Please go ahead.
um I guess I could just say that, that everything that has been said today, I mean, the issue of irregular movement is a lot more complex than can be elaborated on in this short interview, and that, of course, that it doesn't apply generally, but that, for people that can, if people who have to go to migrate, but that can, stay back home and build their capacity back home using the opportunities that are being provided back home, should do that, and then try to migrate regularly. And also that people in the diaspora that are watching this video and also are aware of the situation with the regular movement should, join forces with organizations such as UNHCR that are sharing information on the regular movement, and also shining a spotlight on, other pathways, safer pathways for people to migrate. So I would say that if you are back home watching this video, also you can share, telling the real story.org. We have stories of women, stories of men from Nigeria that can be shared. So it is telling the real story.org. And then people in Europe, you can also join forces by sharing those stories as well, using your network to share the right information on irregular movement, so that people can be a lot more aware, and that the traffickers have lesser and lesser, influence on people.
All right. Thank you very much, Shenny. It has been a pleasure talking with you on this project. Of course, we have talked about it before. And for some of you who want to know more about telling your real story, in fact, we also have a session that we dedicated to it. It's a series of videos that we did when they contacted me, and we did on the symposium here in Verona. So they are also available in our project because we believe in what they are doing. That is why we dedicate time to share some of those information. So you can check it out and try to make also your own contribution. If you are a Nigerian and abroad, know that you have a responsibility towards your fellow Nigerian at home, in that this kind of story you tell, let it be honest, let it be the real story. The point here is telling the real story. Don't lie about it. Don't say don't pump yourself and make people believe that you are living in heaven while you are just strongly here. Let people know that life is difficult everywhere. If you are enjoying every day, of course, show that you are enjoying every day. Nobody is discouraging you for that. But at least from what we know, I've been working on this project for years, and I've been talking to different Africans that have been living here for more than 40 years. From my experience, life in Europe is difficult. It's difficult like any other part of the world. Okay, sometimes you might be able to do one or two things and become rich overnight, but that is only less than 0.0% of the population of Africans in Europe. And we are not actually considering that percentage because it's too insignificant. We are looking at the life of our people here. Sometimes it's complicated, okay? So let's be honest, let's tell the real story.